Hi everyone, so this is the third video in the series of videos on the eating disorder anorexia, and today I'm going to talk about my recovery, which is obviously the most positive of all videos because it just shows that, we are in control because our mindset is responsible for our recovery. Now, obviously recovery is a long process, so obviously I can't cover, the entire kind of journey. But what I will do is I'll talk about the turning point. When did I get out of the mindset that, the thinner the better and gaining 1 gram is awful and I love being weak and thin because that makes me beautiful. And when did I get out of that mindset to then enter a new mindset of, okay, where is this healthy weight that I can maintain so that I'm healthy and so that I'm able to actually live my life, properly. Because I'll tell you, by the time, the turning point happened for me, my physical health was really deteriorating. My eyesight was worse. My teeth were like bad. Like, oh my God. I had pain in my bones just hurt. I talked in my previous video about a broken knee. Well, part of that was just that my bones had got so weak that a simple jump, a simple fall, I did figure skating and figure skaters fall all the time. And it wasn't one of those crazy falls where you land head first, it was just a normal fall, but it was because my bones were so weak, it was enough to kind of, break my knee. I had headaches all the time and I just couldn't concentrate. Like, people were talking to me and all I could think about was how many nuts did I eat and how many nuts do I need to eat tomorrow and how much food do I need to throw away. Like, that was my mind. I didn't care what people said to me. And that was the hardest part because I love people. So for me to go from being so kind of like sensitive and kind of, understanding to kind of just being so closed and just wishing for people to leave so that I could count how many calories I've had. That was really hard for me to digest because it wasn't who I am, and it isn't, thankfully, who I am. So by the time that the turning point happened, I was in a very kind of dangerous place. And I remember there were a couple of moments when I would look at myself in the mirror in the bathroom and just think, okay, I can push myself a tiny bit more and I won't die, I'll be fine. Or, I can eat a little bit less and my ribs will just show a tiny bit more and it'll be fine. But there came a day when I was like, I'm actually scared that I'll faint and fall down this. Like, there came a day when I was like, okay, I'm actually scared. Like, maybe I should stop. I had these clip-on weights, which I used for, my exercises. And what I would do was I would put one in my bra and one like across here so that the scales would obviously show a bigger number, and my mum would be like, okay, you're improving, but obviously I wasn't. And we went to Turkey as well that year. So I don't know if you can relate to this, but when you're tanned, you look healthier, right? So the initial association was, okay, she looks healthier, but it was just because I was tanned. In reality, I was far from healthier. If anything, I was weaker than ever. Because in Turkey, we went to this hotel, like all-inclusive where you can just like, have anything. So I just kept buying water and washing everything out of myself. Every nutrient that I consumed was washed out of my body instantly without my mum knowing. And so this constant battle kind of came to its culmination in August. And I guess when I think about my recovery, two words that come to mind. I've thought about this a lot because it's hard to pinpoint because recovery is such a process. But I think two words that come to my mind are revolt and frustration. And the second word is love. And you might think those two don't go together at all, but they are so, in terms of my recovery, they were so like prominent because in terms of revolt, I view my recovery as a revolt and in this kind of frustration against everyone who refused to understand that my struggle was mental. Everyone thought that I was just being silly or they would break down my problems into small chunks. They would be like, okay, well, why are your teeth like that? You should stop doing this. You know, or why, you know, why are your bones so weak, you know? And people refused to understand that I was in a mental trap. They refused to support the idea of this mental trap because it was easier to just assume that, you know, all I have to do is eat more, right? I mean, that's obvious. So my recovery, I guess, was, I'll tell you how I actually recovered, don't worry. I'm just trying to explain how I came up with these two words. So frustration and then love, because you know what, the thing that actually pushed me to change my mindset was the fact that I always have dreams, I always have goals, I always have kind of feelings and ideals that I stand for. And so to not be able to chase my dreams was really frustrating and painful. And you know, there came a point where my stomach hurt so much that I had to lie in bed the whole day, and then the next day, and then the next day. And the only way I could get out of bed was if I drank this syrupy thing, which kind of meant that I could function until I drank the next syrupy thing. And to depend on that bottle of syrup was, you know, inconceivable to me as somebody who is used to being free and just waking up and, you know, doing whatever it is I set my goals for and set my sights for. So I guess my recovery was you know, based around those, but the actual trigger was nighttime. It was midnight, and it was late August, and my father came to talk to me about the future. The minute that he left, I burst out crying because I realized that while I was so busy pursuing this one goal of being as thin as possible without dying, essentially, I had lost myself and my love. I had lost this like thirst for life. My whole day was built around calculating how many calories I burnt and how many I'd eaten. But I'd lost the reason that I exist. Why am I counting these calories? Why am I alive, you know? And when he said that, I realized that, oh my gosh, I'm about to lose like everything. And I'm not even allowed to do what I want to do. And I'm so weak. Like, I'm gonna have to go to hospital. This whole reality suddenly just dawned on me. And I remember I was so frustrated that not even the closest people to me understood that it wasn't down to me. That, you know, my recovery was about my mental state, and I was just so trapped in this. And I, like, people kind of thought that, okay, you just need to eat more. What's wrong with that? People would be like, just eat more. Like, what's wrong with you? Just go and buy yourself a massive burger and eat it. They didn't understand that that's exactly what I wanted to do, but I couldn't. Like, every night I would dream about a massive burger. And people just assumed that, what's wrong with you? Eat the burger. Like, so I was crying out of this massive frustration that nobody understood how badly I did want to recover. And the second aspect was obviously that I wanted to go and chase my dreams. And I had just finished the public exams in Kazakhstan, and I'd got all A's. So obviously I'd done well, and I wanted to go and, you know, further. I didn't want my education to kind of plummet. So I was like, you know what? I just can't deal with these people and their attitude. I was so angry that I kind of decided to go to the kitchen and just eat everything that I can see for every single day the next week. I did that, and I guess that was the turning point when I realized that, you know what? I'm gonna grip on to this last little kind of bit of hope that I can have a proper good life and actually contribute something to this world. And I'm gonna grip onto that. And if I have to eat while I'm sobbing, and whatever I have to do, I'll do it. So I just went to the kitchen, and for the first time in a year, I just decided that I was gonna have a normal meal, and I wasn't gonna count how much I'm eating. I'm just gonna have a meal at midnight. So I put the music on very loudly so that it would distract me from any thoughts. And I opened a book as well, and I just sat there and I read and ate. And then I was like, I'm gonna have another meal. I feel like had another meal. And I did that for a whole week. I had meal after meal after meal, and I was like, you know what, I'm getting better. I am going to prove to you that I deserve this good life that I've been given. And I'm going to prove to you that nobody and nothing can ever stop me from chasing my dream. You know, and that was my whole mindset. I was like, I love this life. I'm going to prove that I deserve to live it and that I am going to make it better for people around me and for myself. So I sat there and ate, and I sobbed, and then I ate more. And then I just opened that box of lint, which was hidden at the top of my cupboard from myself. And I opened it and I was like, I'm going to eat these lint balls, and whatever happens, happens. And so obviously, you know, that week between, that conversation and then going to school, I'd gained a couple of kilos. And obviously it gave me massive anxiety being weighed, knowing that I would gain weight. Like, I'm strong. I'm going to make myself a new routine. I'm going to be healthy with my exercise. I'm not going to wake up at 5 every morning. I'm going to get actual sleep. I'm going to rebuild my life from these ashes. Like, this is it. It's in my hand. Looking back, I'm just so, like, proud that I was brave enough to start eating again. Because this massive anxiety that, oh my God, I'm going to gain weight, you know, it is a lot of anxiety when you know that you are gaining weight for somebody whose whole life, within a year was about losing weight. So it is really hard in terms of anxiety. But when you just close your eyes at night and you envisage your future life, there has to be something that sets your heart on fire, you know? And for me, that was my dream life that I really wanted. And that now I'm so grateful that I'm en route to, you know, living it. You know, I'm doing that now. So, you know, one step further, but back then it was like, I might never have this, you know? Like, I might never go to uni. Obviously going to uni wasn't like my life goal. You know, I have other life goals, but in terms of getting to my life goal, right, it was important. So something sets your heart on fire, and you need to understand that fighting for that thing, you can do amazing things. You can cross boundaries. You can cross mental boundaries. It's this thing, this light, something, when you imagine something and you just smile. I was like, if food is the only thing standing in the way of me living that good life and smiling and being happy again, and being able to meet up with my friends without worrying where we're going to eat and how many grams the waiter is going to put on my plate or whatever, if that's the only thing standing between me and that good life, then wait a minute, I'm going to overcome it. And that's exactly where my recovery kind of was triggered. Now, after that initial trigger, there was a lot of back and forth, because obviously it's figuring out how much you want to exercise, because you can't not exercise, or you can't completely go from super controlled to completely uncontrolled, because obviously that is then very unhealthy. And obviously because I went to school, you know, there was sports involved, and, you know, it's just about figuring out where the balance is. So it was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of, okay, I'm going to do 10 hours a day again, and okay, I'm going to do 0. You know, there was a lot of kind of just taking deep breaths, yoga poses, and figuring out where the healthy boundaries are, which means I'm so grateful to everyone who was there for me in my first year of boarding school, because I was not in prime health. And it was obviously very important for me, you know, and shout out to my fabulous roommates, Grace Ashman, Molly Stevens, and Marilena, who probably understood how hard it was for me, like, every day. And they saw me with my thin knees and my leg warmers, just trying to figure out how much workout I need to do, and doing these challenges, and then going from doing that to doing 0 and crying, and, you know, and finally then emerging as somebody with a good routine and healthy. And honestly, being able to do that was probably the best thing about that first year, because I was a changed person, and I could rely on my schedule and my routine, knowing that it was healthy, knowing that it would bring me the results that I wanted, and knowing that it would bring me happiness. So I guess recovery can be summed up as kind of frustration and love. For me, it's different for everyone, but I think if you hang on to that love aspect and if you fight for what you want in life, then anything is possible, because ultimately all the people that I have read about or know about who have overcome issues like this, they did it in the name of love. They did it because there was something in life that they needed to fight for, you know, and that's why they didn't allow this very, very difficult mental trap to separate them from hope. So it's just holding on to hope, holding on to what you love in life, and frustration, because you know what, sometimes you have to be a little frustrated to want to prove to people that you're strong. You know, I loved being pitied and being this weak girl with thin knees and whatever, but I also was that girl who was just strong, and I wanted people to see that. I didn't want people to think, oh God, look at Daria, you know, she was such a promising girl, but, you know, unfortunately her mental health. I didn't want to be that girl. I wanted to be the girl who was like, okay, yes, I admit, you know, I have this issue, but this isn't the end. This is just a chapter of my life. This is a chapter that I look back on, surprisingly to many people, with so much gratitude, because I can tell that had I not gone through this, I would not be the same person, and I would not know what it takes to truly build your life. Because a lot of the time we're just going on autopilot, just, you know, wherever. First we start, you know, with school, then uni, and it's kind of like whatever the routine we're given. I made my own routine. I made my own decisions, and I had to decide how much I was going to eat, and I had to decide, you know, and I think that's just power that now when I'm an adult right now and I have to make these decisions, having done that before, it's so much easier for me to know where to take my health and what's healthy for me and what isn't, and how much to eat, you know, and what to do. And I think that's a very useful life skill. So if anything, I'm very grateful for my journey, and I know that if I can recover, then anyone can, because I'll tell you, the amount of support that I got was small, very small, because there is still a stigma around mental health issues, and people were reluctant to put me down into that category because they believed that my issue was physical. They thought it was just a matter of me being stubborn and not eating because I'm stubborn. They didn't understand that I'm not eating because I'm struggling inside and I need to be helped. And that was probably the most painful experience, when everyone around you doesn't even understand. Even if you have just one person who understands and who's there for you no matter what, you are very lucky. And you know what? You don't owe it to anyone. People, when they have mental health issues like this, people feel guilty about the people around them. And yes, there is a place for that, because if you've been, you know, unsupportive to someone, maybe guilt is a good thing to have, but the only person you owe this to is yourself. You owe this recovery to yourself. Anyone else's life is irrelevant when it comes to your recovery, because your recovery is about you being like getting back your humanity, getting back your drive, your passion, the fire in your eyes. Not looking inwards and counting calories, but looking outwards, because then you'll be able to give more, and then you'll become a better you know, family member, girlfriend, friend, boyfriend, son, daughter. You know, it's just about owing it to yourself, because you are your most important person, and your body should be a place where you enjoy living, and it shouldn't be something that you're scared of. You shouldn't look in the mirror scared. You should look in the mirror and say, I love this body. This body is the home of my beautiful heart, and this body is the home of my beautiful spirit, and I am constantly you know, improving this house. I am working out, I am eating healthy, but this is not a struggle. This is a joy. This should be a joy for you. You should be doing it healthily. You should be doing it balanced. And yeah, there'll be some days when you just lie in bed because you deserve to, because your body is human. It's not a robot. It's not a computer. Your body is human, and you channeling that love for what you have here and now is probably the only way that we can prevent disorders like anorexia, if we teach people to love their body from an early age. You know, teach them to appreciate what they're given. Your body is just like, it's an envelope. What's inside is what matters. And if you can, channel that energy and let it expand to your body to recover, you will win. You will win. You'll be stronger than any disorder there is.